Donald Trump and Joe Biden romped across the Super Tuesday map, easily wiping out their closest challengers and marching to the precipice of their respective nominations. It's the November rematch few Americans want except the ones who keep voting for it. But while Tuesday's elections served as a stark reminder of the grip both men have over their parties, they also offered the best glimpse yet of each candidate's general election frailties, from Trump's struggles with well-educated suburban voters to Biden's protest votes over his policies in the Middle East and Democratic-leaning places like Minnesota. Down the ballot, gamesmanship seemed to pay off for Adam Schiff as he coasted through the state's top two primary alongside a Republican who he is all but certain to beat. Elsewhere, hardline Republicans advanced from key primaries, but potentially not without serious liabilities for some, like Mark Robinson, who easily won the North Carolina GOP gubernatorial primary. Here are 7 things Super Tuesday taught us about the general election. The general election no one wanted. If Tuesday night cemented anything, it was that any lingering chance of Trump or Biden not getting through their primaries has become the stuff of fanfic fever dreams. Large swaths of voters in both parties aren't relishing a 2020 rematch, polls show. And now, they're going to have to get used to it. The choice is not a great choice right now, said one battleground Super Tuesday state Democratic Party chair, granted anonymity because this person wasn't authorized by the Biden campaign to speak. I'd rather both of them weren't running. Both major party candidates will have to face an electorate that, from the beginning of the race, expressed a desire to see someone else run. Like 2016, so-called double haters, the roughly 17% of voters who dislike both candidates, according to a recent Marquette University Law School national survey, stand to be the defining demographic of 2024. Nikki Haley at a crossroads. Haley can no longer make the argument, as she has for weeks, that she is staying in the race because only a handful of states have voted. Once polls closed Tuesday, 25 states and territories had cast ballots this year for a Republican nominee representing almost 50% of available delegates. Haley had managed to win just 2 of those contests. Despite clinching Vermont on Tuesday, days after winning in Washington, D.C., Haley tanked in other states her campaign had eyed as fertile ground. After looking to places like Virginia, Colorado, and Massachusetts to deliver much closer margins, Haley was on track to lose each by more than 25 points, and her gap with Trump and other states was significantly more. Republicans may still have a Trump problem down ballot. You go into war with the candidates you have, not the candidates you want. Republican Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson would probably not be the first choice of GOP operative class for the North Carolina gubernatorial race, given his Trump alignment and long list of scandals. Trump set out to remake the GOP into more of a working-class party in November could test whether trading white-collar voters for blue-collar ones is a winning strategy in swing states. Biden's uncommitted hump is real. Jason Palmer, a previously unknown businessperson from Maryland, snatched American Samoa away from Biden, raking in 51 votes compared to 40 for the president, without ever having set foot in the island territory. In doing so, he kept Biden from sweeping Tuesday night. Democrats will come back home, said Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, chair of the Democratic Governors Association. I think there is a frustration in, again, our healthy political system. We want to express some of that, but these folks who, if they're not voting for Joe Biden now, they darn sure are by November. But come this fall, Biden can hardly afford such a defection in the pivotal blue wall state. California gamesmanship paid off. Schiff may have ticked off liberals by elevating Republican Steve Garvey, but the gambit worked. Garvey easily beat out Democratic Representative Katie Porter for the second spot in the general election, which means an almost certain Schiff victory in the fall. More than anything else, California was a test of the candidates and party's ability to navigate the jiu-jitsu of fighting in the top 2 primary. And they appear to have pulled it off. Both the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and House Majority PAC, the top Democratic Super PAC, spent to promote former state assembly member Rudy Salas, who lost to Vallado in 2022, over the other Democrat in the race, State Senator Melissa Hurtado. There are still votes left to count, but Vallado and Salas ended Tuesday night as the clear 1-2 in the race. The House GOP conference inched to the right. Conservatives fighting for greater influence within the volatile House GOP conference are getting some reinforcements. Representative Barry Moore, a member of the House Freedom Caucus who was drawn out of his seat last year, pulled off an upset in Alabama's 1st congressional district, defeating Republican Representative Jerry Carl. In the final weeks of his campaign, Moore and his allies heavily touted Moore's opposition for Ukraine funding. Moore's win came despite heavy spending against him, including 6 figures from Conservatives for American Excellence, a group bankrolled by hedge fund billionaire Ken Griffin and investment banker Warren Stevens that played in Republican House primaries across the country in an attempt to block troublesome candidates. A disappointing night for the left. Uncommitted voters' strong showing in Minnesota was the biggest bright spot in an otherwise disappointing night for progressives. The problem wasn't that, as some liberals feared, Porter and fellow Representative Barbara Lee would split the progressive vote in California. As of early Wednesday morning, their vote shares combined still wouldn't be good enough to vault over either Schiff or Garvey. There are still a number of Democratic primaries or top 2 primaries